I'm going to start off the presentations today. This is a day of celebrating projects that are going on in the river, and good news about the river, and you may have projects that after you work on them, there will be more good news for the rivers. So it's a day to reinforce each other, I hope, and motivate us to go out and do more work to protect our local rivers. So our group has a presentation from when we spoke to the Community Foundation, and I'm going to start with that. Community Foundation for Greater New Haven is a supporter of our organization and many of you who are here today. And without their help, we couldn't do some of the projects on the river. So this conference is actually one of the things we had to do for Community Foundation. So I'm glad you all showed up. Some of our other tasks are to improve public access to the Quinnipiac and some of its tributaries, and to educate on phosphorus control, and also to promote participation in permit decisions. And this is actually Michael, I think, in the boat, isn't it? Michael's one of the interns, and we with the interns promote use of the river, cleanups and events on the river, such as river festivals, taking people out on tours, giving them a little history of the area, and helping them use the water safely. Once in a while somebody flips over, but they're trained, the interns are trained to rescue people. One of our public access issues we're working on right now is the Little River, which is a tributary of the Quinnipiac down near Route 80. And this picture is taken illegally from a highway ramp where I had to put the car on the shoulder and then hop a fence, take the picture of the Little River. And it merges into the Quinnipiac beyond that railroad track. But you can't get to this river at all. It's been closed off by Lowe's, which was built on Route 80 and cut off access to the river. What they are supposed to do, according to their permit, is create an access way to the Little River so people can go there and fish or launch boats. And they built it at the very beginning when they got their permit. But this is what it looks like now. It's you can't even see the pathway to the river now. It's been completely overgrown. And that's the pathway. You can see the trees have come up through it. And it's impassable pretty much. So we did go to Lowe's management and tell them they have a problem because they haven't kept their access open as they're required to do by their 2004 permit. And the local manager is very receptive. He is willing to do it. I showed him the zoning documents that require him to keep the path open. They would like their own landscaper to keep it open rather than have us volunteers do it. And it's in the Boston regional office of Lowe's. Their lawyer is checking it out. But he believes that we will get permission to reopen that path. Another public access problem is on Quinnipiac River, Tully's Road, Wallingford. There's a sand and gravel operation there. And Mr. Suzio, the owner, is very receptive to public access for the river cutting crews, folks that come in with the chainsaws and help us clear the river trails. But he is not receptive to the general public coming into his property to park there to use boat launch. So he has asked us to put the general public along the side of Tully's Road, keep them up close to the road. And he said, but there's an issue here. We have a water line underneath the grass, Town of Wallingford water line, and you're going to have to get permission from them. So we did get permission to put some parking area over the water line. The Town of Wallingford said that it will not hurt the water pipes to have a few cars parked on it. So now we just have to go back to Suzio and see if he'll let us scrape off the surface there to make a little parking area. And that way you can launch boats right in this section of the river at Tully's Road. And it'd be easier for the crews to keep the trail open. And he won't have to worry about people walking around his industrial property. Phosphorus has been a problem for the Quinnipiac in particular because of the waste treatment plants that discharge to the Quinnipiac. And the science says you have to have tighter requirements to meet these, to prevent the algae blooms from happening. So it's expensive for the towns, and they did oppose meeting the standard for quite a while. They hired a lobbyist. They appealed to Region 1 of EPA. And then the legislature provided more generous grants with a deadline of July 1st. So now the towns that were holding out are now trying to meet the July 1st deadline. So they get more money. So that's worked out really well. And the last holdouts are include my town where I live in Wallingford. But it looks like they are going to meet the July 1st deadline. So that'll remove the, if this all works well, it'll remove the algae blooms on the river and provide better water quality for aquatic life. Margaret Miner is going to be here later this morning to talk about the state water plan. There was a big dispute on the state water plan over the language, water is a public trust, which was put in the plan to emphasize that water belongs to all people. It's not just the water utilities, but it's everybody. So the conflict is always the water companies versus groups that need flow in the river. We have had a couple of instances where the water was drawn down so low that the fish actually died in the river. And we're trying to keep that from happening by doing better planning. So the water plan advocates for mandatory water conservation in certain parts of the state at certain times of the year. And Margaret will tell you more about that when she gets here. Buffer protection is another thing we work on. We're trying to educate communities to leave a strip of vegetation along the sides of the rivers and streams, as in this picture. And that filters out phosphorus, nitrogen, and erosion. However, we had a defeat here in Wallingford Park and Recreation, took out an existing buffer. There was a buffer here, and you can see it's been removed. They took it out on a slope, which is even worse because now you have erosion possibility because it's a slanted slope. And they were more interested in having views than they were in having good water quality. And there's really no penalty for this. We complained, but there's no penalty for removing an existing buffer, which might have to be changed. So the wins this recent year are that the state water plan is going forward because the governor is going to allow it to go forward. River Advocates has 2 seats on the All Next Advisory Board, so we can watch their discharges. That's a chemical company in Wallingford. We did work on work against a proposal to sell the last sand barren habitat on the Quinnipiac River to have the sand mined out and then develop a warehouse on it. So that was canceled. But on the loss side, the vegetative buffer at Community Lake was removed over our objections. North Haven is talking about a development on their sand barren, which is a rare habitat near the Wharton Brook Connector exit. And that case made us realize that we need to train new land use advocates who will go to public planning and zoning hearings and inland wetland hearings and actually put information on the record to protect the rivers. So that's going to be a new project for us starting this year. And then we have to figure out a way to have towns either reward them for protecting their buffers or penalize them if they remove them. So that's what we're working on. Also, Also, we do boat trips in the summer, and Michael and the other interns will help you if you would like to go on a boat trip with us. Just put it on your sign-up sheet that you're interested and leave us your email, and we will invite you to come along, and it's fun. We have kayaks and canoes, more kayaks than canoes, and we will help you do it, get in and out safely, and explore the rivers as a group so that you'll be safe and enjoy your trip. Do you have any questions for me before we go to the next speaker? Yeah, Lee.
Mary, thank you for the presentation. A few things. One is the two accesses that you mentioned, the Lowe's access and then the Tolles Road.
Yeah.
Do you know if these are up on that website that Matt Higby at the foundation handles that has the map of there's accesses? That
No, because they're not accesses yet.
Okay.
Right now, they're blocked accesses.
Okay, well,
so if we put them up, people will yell at us.
No, well, that's my point, that when they are,
Yeah.
is the plan to get them on there?
Yes, that's a very good suggestion. And
So that would be with Matt Higby.
Matt Higby?
Matt Higby,
Okay.
he's responsible for the Quinnipiac River website. For those that don't know, there is a site that is paid for out of the Community Foundation's River Fund, Quinnipiac River Fund, that is constantly updated by the foundation with information specifically about the Quinnipiac River. Access pictures, it's actually quite a rich website, and you can access it directly or you can access it through the foundation's website. Second unrelated thing, Mary, and with all due respect to any Republicans in the room, what are the recent sort of sayings or sort of things that are being said by the Republican parties, how important it is to not have advocates as politicians. We need politicians that are not advocates. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And you personally are, in my mind, a beaming example of the value of having such a passionate advocate in political office. And it just makes me think that we need to bring out the shining stars of politicians who are passionately advocating the way that you are for things that are as important as our waterways. So that's just a thank you to you and an acknowledgement. And then since I have the floor, just very quickly, on May 19th, we'll be doing the 8th annual Quinnipiac River Fest.
18th.
Huh?
18th.
18th. Yeah, you know, 'cause she's bringing her canoes. I'm sorry. The 19th is the rain date.
Yeah.
It's May 18th from 11 to 4, and there's a website for it. It's QuinnipiacRiverfest.com. Please come, bring your friends. We'll have Good Night Blue Moon, a band, and a bunch of stuff, and canoes. You can go out on the river.
Yeah, it's fun.
And I can say I've been several times, or more than several times. So you're really missing a fun time if you don't.